out there. We're trying to steer clear of any commentary about the major topic of the day, which has a lot of people upset and depressed and angry, and the country, frankly, feeling even more divided than it was 24 hours ago. So one thing that brings us all together, as the ratings continue to prove day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, it's football, specifically professional football, specifically the National Football League. So, football-only segment, we talked about the issues with the potential outbreak with the Titans and the idiocy from guys like Derek Carr of the Raiders last hour. This is back to football based on 3 weeks in the can, 48 games of the regular season, headline versus story, perception versus reality. We got several different topics to get to, and let's begin with the 3-0 Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Russ is cooking. Let Russ cook, and Russ is cooked like no one has ever cooked before. 14 touchdown passes in 3 weeks, a record. 4 or more touchdown passes in each of his first 3 games this year, a record. But is the story that the team's defense, the Legion of Boom, has become the Legion of a 4-letter word that doesn't begin with B or end with M, but I guess the letters B and M would be relevant to the word I'm thinking of. Chris, please go before I make it any worse.
It's very interesting here. I think I should let you go more, actually.
I will stop.
So
I will
supposed
be quiet.
to pick
Cut
one
my
here? Like, am I supposed to go one or the other, like headline versus story? And like, that's how I'm. Okay, good. Well, either way, all right. We know Russ is cooking. All right, that's the real deal. All right, but yeah, the story, the Seahawks defense is bad. But I don't think that's the story. I still think it's Russell Wilson. I mean, yeah, we know the Seahawks bad. I mean, look at these numbers. I've never seen numbers like this next to any team. Almost 500 yards of total offense in each game right now. I know, but for the other team, Pete, they're letting up 497 yards of offense for the other team. Be quiet, you. Then, all right, passing yards allowed, 430. That's insanity. That's insanity. Yes, the Seahawks D it's bad. They can't rush the passer, and they don't have good cover corners. So that's not a good combo. But I don't know if they care. I mean, the bad Seahawks D can't be the story when you're 3-0 and winning football games still. And it's working out in their favor. And the big thing is this, even though they let up all those yards, right, last week, their defense is the one that made the game-changing plays still. Whether it's the interception at the end of the game, the strip sack fumble that set up a short field for the Seahawks to start the second half, or the interception at the end of the first half that gave them points too. So, maybe you can live with yards when you're making a few plays that kind of dictate the game as well.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
When you are in possession of a quarterback who is having a historic run. Now, look, 13 games left. There's no reason to assume it's going to continue all year, but based on what we've seen so far, there's no reason to think it can't. Russell Wilson is running rings around the defenses. They're letting him throw the ball down the field. It isn't wait until the fourth quarter and Russ go, please save us.
No.
When you have that kind of performance, and I think back to week 1 of the 2013 season. This was before you were part of the NBC family. We were out in Denver for the game. It was when the Ravens had to go on the road for the first game of the year because they couldn't play their season opening game in Baltimore because the Orioles had a game and they refused to step aside, like the mighty Orioles. I don't know much about baseball, but I know the Orioles stink and they've stunk for decades now.
Yeah, they have.
But Peyton Manning began a historic run that night that would lead to 55 touchdown passes and set a record. And they beat the crap out of the Ravens. It wasn't even close. The Seahawks are barely winning the last 2 weeks. And the game against the Falcons could have gone either way. It was that fourth down throw to DK Metcalf that was the turning point. So this is the first time that I can remember that we've seen this kind of performance by a quarterback that is tearing up the league, but his team is still barely winning the games. They have to have a stop of Cam Newton at the goal line. They have to have the interception in the end zone. And that tells me this may not be sustainable. And the only way they have a chance of sustaining it is if Russell Wilson continues to throw 4 or 5 touchdown passes a week, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Now, I think he can do that, and they can still do that with the weapons they have. They're protecting pretty good. And really, one of the MVPs of football for me, and just like a little Chris Simms world, is the offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer. I mean, to me, it's been the most impressive coaching transformation I've seen in a while. I mean, Seattle, he's reinvented their offense. I mean, they were used to be so stagnant, and I'd sit there and watch plays and just go, ugh. I mean, I've already seen that. This is the second quarter. I've seen that play 3 times already. Like, that's really what we did. I mean, Schottenheimer's doing it all. Motions, shifts, different formations, different pass patterns down the field. So I give him a lot of credit. I don't know if it's sustainable. I think it is sustainable just because it is Russell Wilson. It's the Seahawks. They're comfortable playing in these type of football games. It does scare me that Jamal Adams isn't out there. But like we've said, through the first 3 weeks, the defense has made the big play when they need to. And I feel like that's the way they're comfortable playing that style this year. They feel like that's the best way to field their team. Their defense ain't going to stop crap. So it's not going to change. I don't think it's going to change very much here anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if they want to continue to win football games, they're going to need Russell Wilson to keep doing what he's done because the defense is going to continue to let them down. And to see those numbers, to see that ranking attached to the Seahawks, that's what's got to be driving Pete Carroll crazy. I think it's one of the reasons why he resisted letting Russ cook as long as he did.
No doubt, Mike.
It is contrary to everything he's ever learned. Like we said last week, his mentor wasn't Don Coryell, it was Bud Grant.
Right.
This is contrary to Pete Carroll's view of football. This isn't how you win, because that's the thing. One bad day for Russell Wilson, your defense can't overcome it. Your defense isn't going to step up on that day that Russell Wilson throws a few interceptions and is off a little bit, and for whatever reason they have a plan that confuses, confounds, and contains him. Your defense can't save the day. And I think that's the ultimate irony here, and I think it would be irony if this effort to let Russ cook ultimately results in a playoffs, where Russ can't cook and the defense can't do jack squat.
Well, we'll see. Up to this point, we're not seeing it. And to what you're saying, too, we got to give Pete Carroll credit there. We do. I mean, the fact that he finally went all in. Defensive head coaches, they always want to just go, let's just get a lead and I'll protect it. And they're completely fine usually with winning a game 16-10 or 13-10 and whatever that may be. Let's not be aggressive or increase the chances of us making a mistake and doing any of that. But he's changed, and I give him a lot of credit. You don't see defensive coaches do that much. You don't see it. And it's like Bill Belichick, he's one of the first guys ever to do it. And that's why they've stayed on top of the mountain for 20 years, because he went, wait, with defense and run the ball and saw how the league turned out. And then he had this quarterback and he found a viewer. He said, wait, this is the strength of my team. Let's spread the field out. Let Brady throw it 45, 50 times. I know I like defense and like to manage a game like Bill Parcells back in 1987, but this is the strength of my team. And I think that's where I give Pete Carroll credit, just to at least see that. And we'll see. They're a work in progress on defense. Maybe they can get that straight, but it's not looking
Another 3-0 team that will at some point play the Seahawks this year is the Buffalo Bills. Headline, Josh Allen playing like an MVP. Story, could the Bills' defense be slipping this year in comparison to the performances we've seen in recent years, Chris?
Yeah, I'm a little Josh, this is a lot like, the Seattle story. First off, yeah, the headline is still the story to me because they're winning the games, and they're winning the games because of that headline. The guy that Josh Allen is playing like an MVP, just like Seattle. It's the same type of thing. But, I understand the story, the Bills' D is slipping. That's concerning to me. It is. It's not the same D as last year. They're not as dominant up front. McDermott got a little exposed in the run game last week by McVay. And I think the other thing is this, Mike, too, that I think I take into account. When you start to have an offense like the Bills do, teams start to go, whoa. It's a little like the Kansas City thing sometimes, where teams just go, wait, we got to push the envelope here, or we're going to have to move the ball, because they're going to move the ball. Josh Allen and those receivers, they're going to score points and do those things. So we're going to have to be more aggressive going after this Bills defense. And I think that's probably part of the reason, too, to where teams have had to do that. But certainly not the same good defense we've seen out of Buffalo the last few years. They're struggling right now.
And here's the thing, and we've talked about this as it relates to other great quarterbacks. The best way to slow them down is to keep them on the sidelines sipping Gatorade. If you can run the ball the way the Rams ran the ball against the Bills on Sunday, even when down late. Now, maybe one of the reasons the run was there is because the Bills were expecting the pass, but even before the game was lopsided,
they were running on it.
The Rams were running it well.
Right.
That may be your key. Run the ball, take the full 40 seconds. This part isn't complicated. When you believe there's a talent gap, when you believe they've got a superstar offense, you keep them off the field because then you frustrate them when they're on the field. They feel like they have to do too much when they get their opportunity because they've had to stand there for 10 minutes while you have methodically driven the ball down the field and chewed the clock.
Yeah.
And it makes people upset. It makes them
does.
frustrated. They feel like you're cheating in some way. Come on, call the next play. Let's go. Let's keep the game moving.
Yeah.
Those are all ingredients to getting a guy and a team, an offense, a coach, a quarterback, whoever, off of their preferred mindset. They get upset. They get frustrated. That's what you want.
No, you're right. You're right about that. And, I think the plays a little bit into, hey, it's, McDermott being in the AFC East now for what? This is his 4th season. People getting a feel for what he does that way. Teams just figuring out some of the nuances of how he calls a game on the defensive side of the ball. And you're right. I think teams are a little bit wary of, hey, let's go on a long drive here. Let's give our defense, a breather on the sideline. But we saw the Dolphins in week 2 and, of course, last week, the Rams. Teams go on sustained drives and being able to kind of pick them apart, run for a few plays here and there. And one issue I have with Buffalo that does scare me, they don't have a great cover corner group there. They don't. They play zone defense a lot. And as good as Tre'Davious White is, as a good cover corner, really great zone cover corner, he's not a lockdown island type guy. And that's their other issue, too, at times, where I feel like they give up, some easy completions here and there just because they're not playing man. And if McDermott doesn't orchestrate the zone the exact right way, there's going to be holes in it that way. And I think that leads to some of their issues as well.
Next topic, the Texans 0-3. But are they the victims of a ridiculously brutal schedule and a team that can turn it around now that the schedule begins to soften, Chris?
Well, it is a brutal schedule. There's no question. But they are still 0-3, and it hasn't been, pretty. The first 2 games, they really, never had a chance, right? I mean, they really didn't. It was over pretty, early in the football game where you felt like, hey, the Chiefs got this one in hand. The Ravens got this one in hand. Last week they hung around, but there's still issues with this football team that are really concerning. I mean, pass protecting, not getting the ball to all the weapons they have. The offense hasn't been able to really, conform to the wide receiver by committee. They can't run the football. Their defense stinks. People running wide open. So, I mean, yes, it's a brutal schedule, but they're still 0-3, and to me, they've looked like an 0-3 football team. I do believe that, Billy O'Brien's a hell of a coach, and we'll see if they can bounce back. But, the schedule is tough, but they've looked 0-3 to me too.
Yeah, we won't know until it shakes out
more
and until they start playing teams in their division. That's going to be the key. They've got those 6 games against the Colts, the Titans, the Jaguars. We'll see what they do there. But you don't want to lose so many games out of your division that you don't have a chance to be competitive in your division. And this is one of the prices you pay for winning the division. That's why they're playing the champions of the other divisions.
That's right.
In their conference, and that's just the way it works. And now they've kind of gotten that out of their system. We'll see what they can do moving forward. But, they've known since the schedule came out, this is how it was going to go. And I'm sure that Bill O'Brien would have said before the season, boy, if we could just win one of these 3 and weather that storm, that's good. And they lost all of them, and now they get a chance to take on a winless Vikings team. But if they lose this weekend, then I think it's time to become very concerned about whether or not the Houston Texans can be competitive. Let's flip it around, though. The Bears.
Right.
Undefeated at 3-0. Nick Foles now starting, moving forward. Mitchell Trubisky's reward for going 2-0 was getting benched during a game that he probably would have lost if he hadn't been benched, but Nick Foles won the game. How much of it do we attribute to the Bears being back like they were 2 years ago? The headline, they're 3-0, is the story that they've just feasted on a trio of weak opponents.
Well, yes, they're not back. So, I look at it really, this one a little bit and go okay, yeah, the story to me is still the story. It's been an easy schedule. Yes, it's awesome, the headline that they're 3-0, definitely. But I don't know if I can sit here and tell you, like, how good I think this Bears football team can be quite yet. I'm seeing some resemblance of the team we saw 2 years ago. I mean, the way the defense played in the second half against the Falcons and going, 4 or 5 series in a row with just steamrolling them and dominating them, and really got screwed over with a few other calls in the game where, like, I think we talked about this on Monday. I mean, the Bears got called for penalties where it was like they steamrolled the Falcons so bad, the referee, I think, was concerned for the safety of the Falcons, and he just threw a flag. He was like, whoa, illegal, killing the other team. I mean, that's really what it was. It kind of pissed me off, actually. But Nagy is trying to run the ball. They're trying to play a tougher brand of football, and the defense is pretty healthy. And I think it is one of the better defenses in football. And now, can Foles just give them enough? I don't know if they're ever going to be a superstar offense, but it sure looked a lot better with him in the game the other day than Mitchell Trubisky. I can't deny that. I've defended Trubisky and all that, but it looks way better. I watched that game film yesterday. So it is an easy schedule. I think that's why they're 3-0, but I think they're a team we should circle and kind of just say, watch out for them because they could become something.
And here's the thing. These wins in September really are money in the bank. You get to 4-0, right? If you're a 500 team the rest of the way, you're still 10-6. That's how important
amazing,
it is
right?
to get off to that good start,
Yeah.
right? You can regress when you rack up wins early. You still are in great position to make it to the playoffs, and 10-6 most likely is going to get you in a 7-team field in the NFC. So they're one win away from being in that position where, yeah, they could become mediocre and still make it to the playoffs.
Big test this week with the Colts.
We'll see. And then short week with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers on Thursday night. These next 2 games are going to tell us a lot about where the Bears are.
You're right, exactly.
Similarly, a team that was better, a team that made the playoffs and advanced to the Final Four last year, Titans are 3-0. Now, we know they've got other issues to deal with now with the outbreak, but they're 3-0. But again, you look at the teams they've beaten, how much of it is the Titans are good, how much of it is the Titans are, and I can't say feasting, they're barely beating. They've won by a combined total of 6 points, 3 games against teams that are winless, Chris.
Titans are one of the enigmas.
Not winless. The Jaguars are 1-2.
1-2, right? Yeah. I mean, they're one of the enigmas of football right now, though. The Tennessee Titans. I mean, good for them. They're one of those teams where you look at and you go, they're 3-0, like you always say. Vrabel will be able to go, but we haven't even played good football yet. You know, it's that perfect type of scenario where he goes, we played like crap and we're 3-0, guys. Come on. I guess what my biggest issue, of course, with the Tennessee Titans and everything like that is, yeah, great, you're 3-0, but I worry about that damn defense. I just can't believe that. I'm shocked by that, by the amount of guys in the secondary and some of the names we got and the defense, the front 7. I mean, the way teams have run the ball on them the last 2 weeks. Robinson with Jacksonville was gashing them everywhere. Dalvin Cook got to, ignite all 3 afterburners that are up his butt there in that game to take off for big touchdowns. So I'm not sure what they are yet either. And, the offense has looked like had moments of looking real good. But again, I guess what worries me there is they haven't played a great defense, really not even a good defense to this point, other than that Broncos so-so defense right now in the NFL. So they're, to me, one of the biggest question marks in the game right now. I'm very interested to see where they go at this point. Their schedule starts to get tougher here, and we're going to find some questions about them too, or answers.
But these close games, beyond the fact that the wins are money in the bank, learning how to win these close games will bode well for the Titans when they get deeper into the season and when they get to the playoffs. If they get to the playoffs right now, it looks like they probably will be back again in the postseason.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.